My name is James, and this is the adventure me and 5 friends took narrowboating through the villages and farmlands of England and Wales. We would traverse through 19th century locks, visit a castle, and cross world-famous aqueducts. Come along for an adventure that none of us will ever forget. Our trip began with flying from our home in North Carolina to the city of Manchester in the UK. There, while recovering from our jet lag, we would spend a day and a half touring the city, seeing its ties to the Industrial Revolution, linking up with our friends, and visiting many of its pubs and eating establishments. On our third day, we would take the train to the town of Crewe, and then a taxi to the village of Wrenbury. It was here that we would be given our floating home for the week, named the Common Tern after the migratory seabird. As you entered this 70-foot-long hire boat, you'd step into the aft berthing, which comprised of 4 bunks. Moving forward, you'd pass the first of 2 identical heads. More on these to follow. Past this would be the first of 2 dining tables, which could be converted into queen-size beds. After this was the galley, which contained sink, mini-fridge, stove, oven, and microwave. Passing another dining table, you would find the second head. Each head contained a shower, toilet, sink, and plenty of room to maneuver. While further forward was the master cabin, which contained a queen bed, and moving past this was the foredeck, which contained seating room for 4. After receiving a walk down of the boat and some preliminary instruction on the operation and care of the vessel, we cast it off with one of the marina's employees aboard, who would give us a 15-minute ride-along tutorial on operation and maneuvering. While it was a bit shocking to see him step off the vessel after such a short time, trusting us not to sink or crash on our journey, we took solace in that there was only so much damage we could do at a maximum speed of 3 miles per hour. We motored for 3 more hours, taking turns at the helm, and passing through our first locks before mooring right next to the Wiley Moor Lock Tavern, where we'd pop in for a pint and some delicious steak pie before going to bed that night. The next morning we began our longest day, needing to motor for more than 15 miles. This is the day where we would really master helming the boat. The bridges were often extremely narrow, as you can see here, and it took a bit of practice to be able to maneuver our 70-foot-long vessel without accidentally banging into one of the sides. We would also run into a number of these lift bridges. These would require one of the crew to run ahead on the towpath and raise the bridge. Even with a low gear ratio, turning these cranks was quite the workout. Afterward, the crew aboard, happily resting while taking in the scenery, would only smile as they rode past you, satisfied that they weren't doing the heavy lifting. At least the helmsman's still working. We also got our lock making down to a science. With so many extra hands aboard, traversing these was short work. The team would run ahead to ensure the locks were drained and gates open. After the boat was fully in, the gates were closed and water raised so we could continue our journey. The day overall was long, but eventually we reached Ellesmere all smiles, and again ended the night at one of the local pubs for a pint. Our third day afloat would see us continue our journey from England and into Wales. We'd continue squeezing through tight bridge underpasses and traversing the canal's locks while continuing to enjoy the scenic views of the countryside. Upon reaching the town of Chirk, we tied up early in the afternoon for some much-needed time ashore, as there had not been a lot of walking done on our journey so far, and the crew might have been suffering from some cabin fever. This led us to take a 3-mile hike to Chirk Castle. The castle was built in 1295 by Roger Mortimer, after King Edward I had completed his conquest of Wales. The castle's many rooms contain several collections showing how people lived through the centuries of occupation. Eventually we made our way to the gardens, where for my partner Grace and I, the most memorable part of the trip occurred. After making our way back down to the boat, the entire crew would celebrate our engagement with champagne and some close quarters dancing before going to bed late that night. The fourth day of our passage would be one full of crossing several engineering marvels. The first being the Chirk Aqueduct, followed soon after by the Chirk Tunnel. The tunnel runs for more than a quarter mile. When entering the long, dark passage, you can barely see the light at the exit. Coming out of this dark and damp passage, you enter a bright green gully that makes the long darkness from before seem fleeting. A short motor further, we would then pass through White House's tunnel. This almost felt like passing under a bridge when compared to the Chirk version. When passing under both tunnels, you could not help but admire the brickwork and reflect on how hard it must have been to carve these passages by hand centuries ago. After a few more bridges and being chased by a fleet of ducks, we reached the famous Pontesalti Aqueduct. My apologies if I butchered the pronunciation. This aqueduct stands 127 feet tall and stretches for 336 yards. Completed in 1805, the aqueduct is the highest canal in the world and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The views over the valley were as breathtaking as the look down. After crossing this marvel, we stopped for lunch in the village of Trevor. This is where my brother and sister-in-law would leave our crew for their own tour of the UK, leaving the four of us to turn about and make the return journey. Our remaining crew would take one more pass over the aqueduct and then through White House's tunnel, before stopping for the night on the north side of Chirk Tunnel. Our fifth day would see us continue south through the Chirk Tunnel and back across the Chirk Aqueduct. While it may seem strange to do an out-and-back journey, this afforded us more opportunity to take in all the things we had seen in the previous 4 days. With the initial novelty of seeing the fields and villages out of the way from the first pass, the return trip allowed us to notice details of the countryside we may have missed before. At this point, there was no question as to our mastery of the vessel. Locking through was a breeze, and our speed was now a bit faster, as we begun motoring with the current as opposed to against it. That evening, we would once again find ourselves in Ellesmere, where we'd provision some treats from the small delicatessen in town, before relaxing that evening in a basement pub.
Morning. Today is Saturday. We have final provision before we get on to leave the town of Ellesmere. I'm walking right now to the closest Tesco. Gotta get a few things because we won't have another stop probably until the very end of the trip.
After our last provisioning, I returned to find the crew having moved the boat and topping off our water reserves for a final time. This leaves me a few minutes to check out the Ellesmere Yard, a boat yard with a 19th century dry dock. Built in 1806, the dry dock is one of the few remaining dry docks in the UK and is still fully operational. Soon again, we were back on our way, taking in the views and having the wildlife judge our boating seals. We were all smiles, and some of us were still feeling quite smug with our engagement. Now, as every seaman knows, there are those who have run aground, and those who will one day run aground. And just as I had thought I had lined up the perfect shot of our boat passing another boat, I can only watch in horror from the bank as our boat comes to a complete stop in the unseen mud. I think the other boat's dog may have been laughing at us. When this happened, I was on the bank operating our drone and our camera, so I could offer no help to getting the boat unstuck. A skipper having abandoned his post was certainly not a good look. After some hard work from the crew, the boat would eventually get unstuck, and we'd be on our way again, stopping for the night at a lovely picnicking site. Our 7th day would be our final full day afloat. It was a gorgeous sunny day with absolutely no wind, which would put a really nice cap on the end of the trip. We'd pass by the Whitchurch Marina once more, and once again pass through the Grinley Brook staircase lock. Once through the lock, we took a short walk back upstream for some much-deserved ice cream at the Marsfield Dairy, directly aside the lock. We did our best to take in all we could, knowing our once-in-a-lifetime journey was about to end. Finally, just an hour's float outside of Wrenbury, we tied up for the night and had our last dinner aboard. That evening, we climbed topside to sit on the upper deck, watching one of the most beautiful sunsets any of us had seen. It was the perfect end to an amazing adventure.